When it comes to men's health, especially after the age of 60, diet is one of the most underestimated but powerful tools. We often hear about cutting back on alcohol, reducing red meat, or watching salt intake. But what about fruit? Fruit is almost universally seen as healthy, colorful, packed with vitamins, and encouraged by nearly every nutrition guideline. Yet here is the surprising truth: not all fruits are equally beneficial for men over 60. In fact, certain fruits that appear harmless or even marketed as superfoods can quietly work against your hormonal balance, your prostate health, and your sexual vitality. To give you some perspective, nearly 50% of men over the age of 60 deal with some form of lower urinary tract symptoms, ranging from frequent nighttime urination to difficulty starting or stopping the stream. At the same time, erectile difficulties and declining testosterone become increasingly common. While these changes are complex and influenced by genetics, hormones, and lifestyle, nutrition plays a much bigger role than most men realize. And fruit, the very thing you have always thought of as good for you, can sometimes be part of the problem. Let me be clear. I am not here to scare you away from fruit altogether. You absolutely need fruit. The fiber, antioxidants, and natural compounds inside fruits are vital for your heart, blood vessels, digestion, and immune system. But not every fruit is equal when it comes to men's health over 60. Some fruits are extremely high in sugar that spikes insulin, drives fat storage around the belly, and worsens estrogen imbalance. Others contain compounds that irritate the bladder or aggravate symptoms of an enlarged prostate. And still others may lower testosterone or interfere with energy balance when consumed in excess. At the same time, there are fruits that act almost like medicine for men in their 60s. These fruits support testosterone production, reduce inflammation around the prostate, improve circulation to the pelvic organs, and even protect your blood vessels, the very same vessels that are responsible for strong erections. In other words, choosing the right fruits and limiting the wrong ones can have a direct impact on how you feel, how you perform, and how healthy your prostate remains in the decades ahead. Think of it like this. If your body is an orchestra, your hormones, blood vessels, and prostate are different sections: the strings, the brass, the percussion. The foods you eat are the conductor. If the conductor is careless, the sections fall out of sync. But if the conductor chooses wisely, the music comes together smooth and strong. The fruits you eat every day can either create harmony in your health or slowly lead to dissonance. So in today's consultation, I am going to guide you through both sides of this equation. We will discuss 4 fruits you should be cautious about, especially after 60, and 4 fruits that you should deliberately add to your daily routine for better testosterone, prostate support, and overall vitality. Along the way, I will bring in the science, studies from respected journals, data from institutions like the National Institutes of Health, and insights from clinical practice to give you clarity, not fear. By the end of this video, you will have a clear roadmap: which fruits to reduce, which to prioritize, and how to use them strategically, not just randomly. You deserve clarity, not confusion, and certainly not the misinformation that often circulates online. Let's take this step by step. When most people think of sugar, they imagine candy, sodas, and desserts. But one of the most overlooked sources of sugar for men over 60 can actually be fruit. This surprises many patients I speak with. They will often say, "Doctor, I cut out sweets, I do not drink soda, I eat fruit instead." That sounds good in theory, but the type of fruit and the amount makes all the difference. Let us break this down. Fruits like bananas, grapes, and watermelon are high in natural sugar. While natural sugar may sound better than refined sugar, the body processes it in very similar ways. Your pancreas still has to release insulin to bring down blood sugar levels. Over time, repeated spikes in blood sugar and insulin make your body less sensitive to insulin, a condition known as insulin resistance. According to the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, insulin resistance is a major risk factor not only for diabetes, but also for low testosterone and erectile dysfunction. Here is why high insulin levels interfere with the brain's signaling to the testes. Studies published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism have shown that men with insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome tend to have significantly lower testosterone levels. In addition, excess insulin drives fat storage in the abdominal area. That belly fat is not just passive weight, it is hormonally active. It produces aromatase, an enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. The result is a double hit: less testosterone, more estrogen, and symptoms such as low energy, reduced muscle mass, and weaker sexual performance. Now, I am not suggesting you cut out all sweet fruits. Bananas and grapes, for example, contain valuable nutrients like potassium, magnesium, and antioxidants, but the key is moderation and timing. Eating 2 large bananas at night before bed is very different from eating half a banana with your morning oatmeal. Think of fruit like a natural medicine. The dose determines whether it helps or harms. A helpful analogy here is to think of your bloodstream like a highway. If you dump too many cars, in this case sugar molecules, onto the highway all at once, traffic jams occur, insulin levels surge, and your body struggles to clear the excess. But if you allow just a few cars onto the road at a time, traffic flows smoothly. That is why pairing fruit with protein or healthy fats, such as a few grapes with a handful of nuts, slows absorption and keeps your blood sugar steady. So what is the practical takeaway? If you are over 60, limit high sugar fruits like bananas, grapes, watermelon, and even fruit juices to small portions. Aim to eat them earlier in the day, ideally with a protein-rich meal, and avoid them before bedtime when your body is less efficient at handling sugar. This small shift can support steadier energy, healthier testosterone, and less belly fat accumulation. If this explanation is helping clarify things for you, give this video a thumbs up. It tells me you want more evidence-based guidance like this, and it helps others discover this content as well. Citrus fruits, oranges, grapefruits, lemons, limes are often seen as the gold standard of health. They are rich in vitamin C, they taste refreshing, and they are commonly recommended during cold and flu season. But for men over 60, especially those dealing with urinary symptoms from an enlarged prostate, citrus fruits can sometimes do more harm than good. Let me explain why. An enlarged prostate or benign prostatic hyperplasia affects more than half of men in their 60s and up to 90% of men in their 70s and 80s, according to the American Urological Association. One of the most frustrating symptoms is the constant urge to urinate, particularly at night. The bladder becomes more sensitive, and anything that irritates it can make those symptoms worse. Citrus fruits are acidic. When you eat an orange or drink grapefruit juice, the acidity can directly irritate the lining of the bladder. The result? More urgency, more frequency, and in some cases, even burning sensations. Think of your bladder like a sponge. When it is inflamed, adding acidic juices is like squeezing lemon on a small cut. It stings and amplifies the discomfort. There is another reason to be mindful of citrus. Grapefruit, in particular, interacts with many medications. Studies from the Mayo Clinic have shown that compounds in grapefruit inhibit an enzyme in the liver called CYP3A4, which is responsible for breaking down certain drugs. This can cause the medication to stay in your system longer and at higher levels, potentially leading to side effects. For older men who may already be taking medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, or prostate, this interaction is not just inconvenient, it can be dangerous. Now, does this mean all citrus is off limits? Not necessarily. Vitamin C is important for immune health and collagen production, and citrus can still be enjoyed in small amounts by many men. But if you notice worsening urinary symptoms, especially urgency or nighttime frequency, try cutting back on oranges, grapefruits, or lemon water and see if symptoms improve. Many men are surprised by how much relief they feel with this one simple adjustment. A practical tip here is to swap citrus for other vitamin C rich fruits that are gentler on the bladder. Kiwi, for example, provides even more vitamin C per serving than an orange, but without the same level of acidity. Bell peppers, technically a fruit as well, are another excellent source of vitamin C and can be included in salads or snacks without irritating the bladder. So here's the takeaway. If you are over 60 and struggling with urinary symptoms, pay attention to citrus intake. Track your symptoms for a week with and without citrus. If you find that your urgency or frequency worsens, that is valuable information you can use to guide your diet and share with your doctor. Comment below if this resonates with you. Have you noticed citrus affecting your bladder or prostate symptoms? Sharing your experience may help another man realize he is not alone in this. Dried fruits, raisins, dates, figs, apricots are often thought of as a healthy snack. They are convenient, they last longer than fresh fruit, and they are often used as natural sweeteners in recipes. Many men tell me they switch from cookies or candy to dates or raisins, thinking it was a smarter choice. On the surface, it is. But here is the hidden truth. For men over 60, dried fruits can carry risks that fresh fruit does not. The first problem is sugar concentration. When fruit is dried, almost all of the water is removed, leaving the sugars and calories tightly packed. One small handful of raisins can contain the same amount of sugar as a full cup of grapes. According to the Harvard School of Public Health, this concentrated sugar load can spike blood glucose levels rapidly, especially in older adults who may already have some degree of insulin resistance. Just like with high-sugar fresh fruits, repeated spikes in insulin can lower testosterone and promote belly fat accumulation. But there is another issue that is less often discussed: the phytoestrogen content of certain dried fruits, particularly dates and figs. Phytoestrogens are plant compounds that can mimic the effects of estrogen in the body. Now, let me be clear. Eating a few dried figs will not suddenly change your hormones. But if you are consuming large amounts of these fruits daily, over time, the added estrogen-like effect can tip the balance in men who are already experiencing low testosterone. A study published in Reproductive Biology and Endocrinology highlights how excessive intake of phytoestrogen-rich foods can influence hormonal signaling, particularly when testosterone levels are already borderline. Think of it like this. Imagine your hormonal system as a balanced scale. On one side is testosterone, on the other side is estrogen. In younger years, testosterone is heavy and dominates the scale. But as men age, testosterone naturally declines. If you are consistently adding foods that act like estrogen, even in small amounts, you are gently placing weights on the estrogen side of the scale. Over time, this can accelerate the imbalance. In my clinical experience, I have had men who snack on dates daily, sometimes 10 or 12 in one sitting, and wonder why their energy is dropping, why belly fat is harder to lose, and why their libido feels lower. Cutting back often makes a noticeable difference. Now, that does not mean dried fruits need to be completely eliminated. They contain fiber, minerals like potassium and magnesium, and are a far better choice than processed sweets. The key is portion control. 1 or 2 dates paired with a handful of walnuts, for example, provide sweetness but also healthy fats and protein to slow sugar absorption. Here is a practical tip. If you enjoy dried fruits, treat them as a dessert, something to savor in small amounts, not something to graze on throughout the day. And if you are concerned about hormonal balance, keep them as an occasional treat rather than a daily habit. If this explanation is helping you connect the dots about how even healthy foods can sometimes work against you, make sure to stay tuned, because in the next section we will talk about tropical fruits that may also surprise you. For many men, tropical fruits like mangoes, pineapples, and papayas bring back memories of vacations, summer tables, or simply a sweet, refreshing treat. They are bright, flavorful, and often marketed as superfoods rich in vitamins and digestive enzymes. And while they do have nutritional value for men over 60, eating them in excess can quietly create problems for hormonal balance, prostate comfort, and overall energy. The first issue is their glycemic impact. Mangoes, pineapples, and ripe papayas are naturally very sweet. 1 cup of mango contains nearly 25 grams of sugar, about the same as a candy bar. This is not bad sugar in the same way processed sugar is, but it still raises blood glucose rapidly. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that diets high in high glycemic load fruits can contribute to insulin spikes, which in turn worsen insulin resistance. And as we discussed earlier, insulin resistance in older men is strongly associated with low testosterone and erectile difficulties. Another concern is inflammation. Pineapple, for example, is famous for its enzyme bromelain, which may help digestion, but the high sugar content, when consumed in large portions, can still trigger oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the hidden drivers of prostate enlargement, erectile dysfunction, and vascular aging. It is like adding a small fire under the hood of your body every day, not enough to cause sudden damage, but enough to wear down the system over years. Papaya is another example. While it provides vitamin C and digestive enzymes, it also contains compounds that in high amounts may alter hormone metabolism. Some studies in animal models, such as those published in Phytotherapy Research, suggest that certain compounds in papaya seeds may have mild anti-fertility effects. While this is not directly harmful in moderate human consumption, it is worth noting for older men who already face declining testosterone and sperm function. Think of tropical fruits like energy boosters with a catch. They give you a quick rush, much like filling your car with premium fuel, but if used too frequently, they can strain the engine. For men over 60 who need stable energy and hormonal balance rather than quick spikes, moderation is absolutely key. So what should you do in practice if you enjoy tropical fruits? Keep portions small, a few slices of mango in a salad rather than a full bowl, a few chunks of pineapple in a smoothie instead of a whole fruit. Pair them with protein or healthy fat, such as yogurt or nuts, to blunt the sugar spike. And most importantly, do not make them a daily staple. Rotate them with lower sugar, antioxidant-rich fruits like berries, which we will talk about next. If this is making sense, take a moment to give this video a like. It lets me know this kind of evidence-based practical advice is helping you, and it helps more men discover this information. Now that we have covered the fruits you should limit or avoid, let us shift toward the ones that deserve a regular place in your diet, beginning with berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries may look small, but when it comes to men's health after 60, they are nutritional powerhouses. The secret lies in their antioxidant content. Berries are rich in compounds called anthocyanins and flavonoids. These plant chemicals fight oxidative stress, the gradual wear and tear caused by free radicals in the body. Why does this matter? Because oxidative stress is a silent enemy of testosterone production and erectile function. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed over 25,000 men and found that those with the highest intake of flavonoid-rich foods, particularly berries, had a significantly lower risk of developing erectile dysfunction compared to those with the lowest intake. The researchers concluded that the blood vessel protective effects of flavonoids were a key factor. Think of it this way: your blood vessels are like garden hoses delivering water to your plants. Over time, those hoses can stiffen, narrow, or develop blockages, especially if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, or high cholesterol. Berries act like a protective coating, keeping the inner lining of those vessels flexible and reducing inflammation. That means better blood flow not only to your heart and brain, but also to your pelvic organs, the prostate, bladder, and penis. And without good blood flow, erections simply cannot happen. Berries also support testosterone more directly. Animal studies, including one published in Pharmacognosy Research, suggest that certain berry compounds protect the Leydig cells in the testes, the very cells responsible for producing testosterone. While human data is still emerging, the early evidence is encouraging and it aligns with what we see clinically. Men who include berries regularly tend to report better energy, better weight control, and fewer vascular complaints. Practically speaking, the beauty of berries is their versatility. You can add them to oatmeal in the morning, blend them into a smoothie, or simply snack on a handful in the evening instead of reaching for cookies or chips. Frozen berries are just as beneficial as fresh ones and often more affordable. If you are concerned about pesticide exposure, especially with strawberries, choosing organic when possible is a good step, but washing them thoroughly also makes a big difference. Here is a helpful tip I share with patients. Make berries your default fruit. Instead of grabbing a banana or mango when you want something sweet, reach for blueberries or raspberries. Over time, this swap lowers your overall sugar load while giving your body a steady supply of antioxidants that actively protect your prostate, blood vessels, and testosterone. So if you are looking for one simple daily habit to strengthen your sexual health and vitality, a cup of mixed berries is a powerful and safe place to start. Few fruits have been studied as extensively for men's health as the pomegranate. In fact, it has been called a natural Viagra in some research circles, not because it replaces medication, but because of the way it supports blood flow. For men over 60, this fruit deserves special attention. The science is compelling. Pomegranates are rich in polyphenols, especially punicalagins, which have been shown to improve endothelial function. The endothelium is the thin layer of cells that lines your blood vessels. Think of it as the Teflon coating inside your pipes, keeping blood flowing smoothly. As men age, that lining becomes stiffer and more prone to damage from high blood pressure, cholesterol, and oxidative stress. When that happens in the arteries leading to the penis, erections weaken. A clinical trial published in the International Journal of Impotence Research looked at men with mild to moderate erectile dysfunction who drank pomegranate juice daily. After several weeks, participants reported improved erectile quality compared to placebo. While not a cure-all, it highlighted that pomegranate can enhance nitric oxide activity, the very same pathway that medications like sildenafil Viagra target. Nitric oxide relaxes blood vessels, allowing them to widen and carry more blood where it is needed most. But the benefits do not stop at erections. Pomegranates also have anti-inflammatory effects that protect the prostate. A study from Johns Hopkins University found that men with prostate cancer who consumed pomegranate extract experienced slower disease progression compared to those who did not. While this does not mean pomegranate cures cancer, it strongly suggests protective effects on prostate tissue. Here is an analogy I often share. Imagine your vascular system as a network of highways. Over time, traffic slows due to road damage, debris, and narrowing lanes. Pomegranate acts like a maintenance crew, clearing debris, widening lanes, and making sure traffic can flow freely again. That translates into better circulation, not just for your heart and brain, but for your pelvic organs as well. So how can you incorporate pomegranate practically? The easiest way is drinking pure pomegranate juice, about 4 to 6 ounces per day. Just be sure it is 100% juice with no added sugar. Another option is eating the seeds directly, which also provides valuable fiber. Pomegranate supplements exist, but whole food is generally more effective because you get the full spectrum of compounds working together. One caution, because pomegranate juice is still relatively high in natural sugars. Moderation is important. You do not need a large glass every day. Think of it as a therapeutic dose, small, consistent amounts that support blood flow over time. If you are enjoying this type of evidence-based breakdown, let me encourage you to subscribe. This channel is all about giving you grounded, shame-free health content drawn directly from research and clinical experience. When we talk about fruits that directly protect men's health after 60, tomatoes belong at the very top of the list. Yes, Tomatoes are technically a fruit, even though we usually think of them as a vegetable. And when it comes to the prostate, few foods have as much supporting research. The key compound inside tomatoes is lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that gives tomatoes their rich red color. Multiple studies have linked higher lycopene intake with a reduced risk of prostate cancer and slower progression of prostate enlargement. For example, a large analysis published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute found that men with the highest blood levels of lycopene had a significantly lower risk of developing aggressive prostate cancer. Why does lycopene matter so much? Think of your prostate as a small but delicate sponge sitting just beneath your bladder. Over time, oxidative stress and inflammation can cause that sponge to swell, making urination more difficult and